Basically, we cover ISO. If you have the copy of the book, it's on page 38, 37. So this topic will cover two chapters of the book. First one is ISO 3000. Chapter 53 regarding environmental audit, page 161. ISO is it's a private, it's not a government, an international standard body. Yes, in Switzerland. So in Malaysia, we have the Department of Standard Malaysia, or DOSM. So under DOSM, we have Malaysian standard like this. So ISO, what to do since 1947 is to promote the international harmonization and development of manufacturing product and communication standard. Although it's not a non-government organization, government are allowed to participate in the development of the standard organization, and many governments have chosen to adopt the standard as the act or regulation. So from the name, actually,
That's the slide. Is it
Yeah.
moving or not?
yes,
Right? But here it's not moving, sir. Okay, much better.
so ISO. However, the acronym is actually IOS. You see, International Organization of Standardization. ISO. Although the name is acronym, ISO, but the term is actually based on the meaning of the word equal. So equal So from thesaurus equal, the C for equal is also balance, commensurate, proportionate, and standard. So if I put, so the name ISO is actually is not just a paper, it's actually the so the line of thinking that led to the choice of ISO of organization is easily put. So what is ISO 14,000? It is a generic environmental management standard. It can be applied to any organization because this is international cooperation for standardization. See how does the develop indicator or organization in all the countries. So it consists of standard and guideline regarding environmental management system. So later on, you will see a lot of EMS inside this line. We shows the importance of EMS. So later, if the question asks about ISO 14,000, the short form of this word, environmental management system, must be in your answers. So this ISO 14,000 is actually first written in 1996, in which the purpose is to assist the companies and organization to minimize the negative effect of the environment and comply with any laws and regulation. So the ISO 14,000, the standard, the environmental regulation is already there. For example, under Department of Environment Minister, we already stipulated the guideline that the industry need to follow. So what does the ISO 14,000 do? Is actually to make it to make a management of. And how are the standard developed? So we go further. Actually, the ISO is so first written in 1996, but why written? Why does the ISO, this organization, prepare this thing? So based on the history, it's actually starting the first point before it's written is 1992 by the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, UNCED. So they have a conference in Rio, Brazil. So from the conference, they produce a Rio Declaration, which consists of 13 points, and all of the 13 points is actually referring to the environment, sustainable environment. So from the set the motion, the basic principle of the ISO 14000. 4 years later, they returned the standard, 1996. So how are the standards developed? So before there is a standard, so meaning each country will produce their own standard. So it's different country producing article using the same technologies, but using different standard limit the amount of work that they can be executed among the countries. So each country come up with their own standard, their own document, although it's referring to the same technology. However, the expansion of global trade, meaning international trade is increasing, there are one standard that can cater on to ease the trading. For example, here the advent of international standard make it possible for one to buy a computer made in the US and use this made in China. Example. So even a laptop or computers, for example, the disk hard drive, they follow certain standard for the connection so that everyone can buy the component from different country, but still can install it in their computers. That is the importance of standard. So ISO standard developed according to the following principle. Another example why the standard is important. So from the standard, we have an international certification program, which is method based on the existing standard. So its certification program organized by National Association of Commercial Engineers, NACE. They set a acceptable standard all over the world. So therefore, if any industry hire engineers certified by their program, they can ensure the quality service or qualified person for that project. So the following principle for ISO standard consensus. Industry wide. So this ISO standard developed is actually done by the technical committees of the ISO. So in this case, ISO, what I mean is the organization, not the standard that they produce. So from these technical committees, short form TC, they follow this principle. First one is a consensus, the view of all interests are taken into account. Manufacturers, vendors, and users, consumers, group testing, regulatory government, investment organization. So for during the development of the ISO standard, they ask for the different point of view. Later on, you see only ISO 14000 take different point of view. ISO 9000 is no, they don't have this information that require external source when implementing the ISO 9000. It should be a global solution to satisfy the industry and worldwide. All of the country can actually adopt the ISO. And voluntary. International standardization is market-driven and therefore based on voluntary involvement of all interests in the market. Even the adoption of ISO is voluntary. There's no act that require certain organization to actually adopt the ISO unless the government adopt the ISO to be part of their regulation. The main phase in the ISO standard development process. So the first phase begin with the need for the standard. So the player from the industry will express their need for the standard. So what they do is they communicate this need to the national member body. In example, Malaysia, the industry requires some sort of standard. So they communicate with the Department of Standard Malaysia, which is the which will liaise with the ISO. The letter proposed the new work item to the ISO as a whole. So that need for standard will be raised by OSN, for example. One is for Malaysia. The letter, okay, once the need for an international standard has been recognized and formally agreed upon, the first phase of development involves the definition, the technical scope of the further standard. So before they start to write the standard, we will first, just on this, they come up with the definition of the technical scope. In this phase, all the working group, which comprise of technical experts from countries interested in the subject matter. So meaning they will invite, if Malaysia propose standard, they will invite Malaysia technical expert as part of the team to write the draft. So once agreement has been reached on which particular technical aspect to be covered in the standard, then the second phase begins, which the countries negotiate the detailed spec within the standard. This is the consensus building phase. Remember the principle. The first one is the consensus. What is the consensus? They taking all point of view from different bodies. For example, manufacturers, consumer group, government, research organization. And once the second phase completed, we negotiate the detailed spec within the standard itself. The standard itself is prepared by the technical expert. That one is the first phase. The second phase is they actually discuss, negotiate. The last phase is comprise the formal approval of the resulting draft international standard. So final phase, the draft of the standard. The acceptance criteria stipulate approval by two-thirds of ISO members that have actively participated in the standard development process and approval by 75% of the members that vote. It requires two sets of approval here. The first one is two-thirds ISO members that develop the standard in the first place. The second one is 75% of all members that can vote. So following the approval here, the text will be published in international standard. It is now possible to publish interim document different stages in standardization. As I also established the general rule that all laws or standard must be reviewed at the interval of not more than 5 years. So before 5 years, they must review the ISO. Based on this book, when they write it, there are 20,000 international standards. This book not remember. I think somewhere in 2000, this book. During that time, it's already 20,000 international standards, representing more than 500,000 pages in English and French. That is how the standards are developed. This is step for ISO 14000. It's for any standard under ISO. Development of environmental standard. This is the 14,000. So ISO 9000 is actually for quality management. ISO 14,000 is for environmental management. Due to the success of ISO 9000 series of standard, which address general quality management, the UNCED has also to develop international environmental standard. So once they get the directive from UNCED, this happened not 1996. This actually happened in after the Rio Declaration. Rio Declaration is 1992. So ISO established after the directive by UNCED. UNCED stand for United Nations Conference on Environment and Development. ISO established a strategic advisory group in the environment, known as UNGE, to look into the global standardization of environmental management practices. So this body, the body referred here is the SAGE here. It comprises of government, national standardization organization such as DOSM, Malaysia, and business and environmental professionals. So the SAGE considered whether such standard would first promote a common approach to environmental management similar to quality management. Second one, to enhance organization ability to attain and measure environmental performance. The last one is facilitate lower threat barrier. So the SAGE establish they need to consider just the standard, for example, point number 3, just standard which facilitate lower threat barrier. Lower threat barrier here refer to the act regulate by one country. So by having a standard way of doing something business, they could lower the threat barrier to, to, to make ease the trade. At the conclusion of their study, SAGE recommended that the ISO Technical Committee, TC here referring to Technical Committee, to formally consider and produce a final consensus standard. Thus, in January 1993, Technical Committee 207 was established. So this Technical Committee 207 is responsible for ISO 14,000. So why number 207 chosen? There's no reason actually. It's actually just a sequence of number for technical committees. So when they want to establish for ISO 14,000, the technical committee is fell in the sequence of 207. And during that time, Canada was amended the secretariat for TC 207, which held in June 1993 with over 200 delegates from over 30 countries organization globally. To develop ISO 14,000 is not a small task. Many involved product at the end with ISO 14,000 is the best. That's why it's become a standard and can be applied by all countries. The largest block of countries with voting right is from Europe. This is about Canada. We see 207 for ISO 14,000. The ISO 14,000, which is based on their discussion, is made up of 23 standards. So 14,000 is the series. So the standards start from ISO 14,001, ISO 14,002. The ISO Technical Committee 207 organize the environmental management standard in working group activities in subcommittees. And the standards are developed through a 7-phase system. is the phase of the when they develop the standard within the 40,000 series. The first one is to select the work item. The second phase involves completion of the working draft. So there are a lot of subcommittee. This is based on the Canada 200 delegate 30 countries and organization. Third phase is the committee approval of the working draft. So committee here refer to the technical committee. The one that preparing the draft is the working group. So within the working group, there are subcommittees. Then the fourth phase is ratification by all ISO members. So the third phase is with ISO. The fourth phase, they ask ISO member to vote for the standard draft of international standard. 6 month working period. The fifth phase is the final confirmation, in which it is approved by the ISO member countries and become the final draft. So in the fourth phase here, the ratification is where it's where the ISO member negotiate the detailed spec within the standard, or in the principle it's fall under the consensus. The fifth is the final confirmation, approved by the ISO member. So to approve the draft, it's required 2/3 of the ISO member that have actively participate and approval of 75% of all members that vote. So proof approval level before it becomes an international standard. The sixth phase is the publication of the ISO standard. So after the approval in the fifth phase, the ISO will be published first in Geneva, Switzerland, in English, French, and Russian language only. The final phase is to translate to other language. For example, Malaysia will use Malay. This is the seventh phase. So within the ISO standard, there are 23 standards. So meaning, based on this description, they they will repeat this cycle for each of the standard. For example, this ISO 14001 is for environmental management system, and ISO 14061 is for information to assist forestry organization in the use of ISO 14001 and ISO 14000. For each ISO, we need to pay through this 7 phases. There are 10 sets of so in the year 2000, 20 years already, 4 years after the start of ISO 14000, because ISO 14000 first written in 1996. So 4 years after that is millennia 2000. 23 certificates has been awarded. Not a lot, like 5,000 per year. And during that time, Japan is the country with the highest growth in number of ISO 14000. This is thing about ISO 14000 certificate. while United States is the fourth highest. So 10 management principle for organization considering and EMS. So EMS stands for environmental management standard system. So environmental management system. If you look at the standard and the ISO 14000 following, for 2001 and 2002 refer to the EMS. With the first one is for specification with guidance for use, and the second one is for general guidance on principal system and supporting technique. So two standard explaining the EMS. So ISO 14000 stipulate a set of 10 management principles for organization considering an EMS as follows. So this 10 management principles you need to know, understand, which is the most important for ISO 14000. Know some of it, remember some of it. The first one is recognize that environmental management is one of the highest priorities of any organization. The second is establish and maintain communication with both internal and external interested parties. The second point is specific for ISO 14000. ISO 9000 is no communication between any parties. The third one is determine legislative requirement. Those environmental aspects associated with activities, product, and services. The fourth one, develop commitment by everyone in the organization to environmental protection and clearly assign responsibilities and accountability. So for the fourth one is based on the organization when they started implementing ISO 14000. What they need to do is they need to make sure the employee can have access to the EMS, and all of the employee must comply with the organization commitment to environmental protection. The fifth is promote environmental training throughout the life cycle of the product. Establish management discipline for achieving targeted performance. Provide the right resources sufficient for me to achieve performance target. Evaluate performance against policy long-term objectives and target management considering. So the eighth point here, on number 8, is regarding audit, environmental audit. Whether by external auditor or the internal. Nine, establish a process to review, monitor, and audit the LMS to identify abilities for improvement in performance. Also, under audit, the one we cover multiple audits. Last one is to encourage vendor to also establish UMS. So the last one is actually is not part of the organization. Really involve the external stakeholder. For this case, the vendors, suppliers for the organization. So what they do is, if they want to do to supply or do business with the organization, that supplier or vendor must establish an EMS as well. Make it a requirement. So that is 10 management principle for organization, considering and EMS. So exercise. So how many management principles stated by us in 2000 for organization? Considering EMS. And list 3 management principles of EMS. So the management principle is you need to memorize it before we can discuss further. How many management principles? Okay, 6. Ini. 10. Management principle under ISO 15004. And the 3 principle of reinforcement. The first one is to recognize the management is one of the highest rating of any organization. Establish and maintain communication with both internal and external interested parties. The last one is to encourage vendor to establish EMS. So basically, ISO 14,000 standard. The standard ISO 14,000 series is 23 standard, which can be categorized into 7. The management system, models, environmental auditing, environmental labeling, environmental performance evaluation, life cycle assessment, environmental management vocabulary, and respective product standard. Define the vocabulary part of the standard. So, environmental management, ISO 14050 is actually the environmental management vocabulary. So this document, number 6, this document review the definition of the terminology related to EMS. So whatever the under which categories, all of it is referring back to the EMS. A brief overview of each of the standards. ISO 14001 and ISO 14004. It's not it's not just a separate 1, 2, 3, something. There are specific numbers, numbering. Example, 14,001 and 14,002 is for EMS. The first one is to give a requirement for any EMS which allow for the organization to create a policy that legal requirement information on environmental impact. 14,004 is the management system. We want to outline on principal system and technique. This document provides guidance on developing and implementing EMS and coordinating them with other management systems. These are strictly voluntary guidelines and do not impact the certification procedure. So, how are you? With a brief information about each of the standards. For life cycle assessment, one six standard catered for life cycle assessment. For example, ISO 14,014. Life cycle assessment principle and framework. This document provides the basic framework, principle, and requirement for conducting and analyzing life cycle assessment. And then the last one is ISO Guide 64. For auditing, guideline for auditing is ISO CD 0.2 19,011. This is still under ISO 14000 standard. ISO Guide 54, Guide for the Inclusion of Environmental Aspect in Product Standard. This document discusses the environmental impact in product standard and provide consideration relating product function and environmental impact. It also gives an outline on how provision in the product standard can affect the environmental requirement in the techniques for identifying the impact and suggestions for evaluating some of the harmful impact. So ISO's text 64 I will upload it. So from this guide, you actually can answer questions such as what is the impact of ISO 14000 direct or indirectly to the environment and to the society. They give some example within this ISO guide. So for implementing ISO 14000, before any step can be done to implement ISO 14000, the main or the first step is the commitment by the senior management. The senior management commitment is required before embarking on the ISO 14000 project. The project planning begins once the senior management is committed to implement this ISO. So after that, the planning will include scheduling, budgeting, assigning personnel, responsibilities and resources, retaining specialized external assistance. To implement ISO 14000. So first step, the senior management need to provide a focus on environmental management system by defining the organization environmental policy. So within this policy, they must include some specific item such as the policy must include, among other things, a commitment to continuous improvement, prevention of pollution, and compliance with legislation and regulation. So this policy is prepared by the prepared by the senior management when they defining the organization environmental policy. So when documented by management, this revised environmental policy must be implemented, maintained, and communicated within the organization and not available to the public. Or make how they make it available to the public. By showing them within the organization or within the website. Next is initial review of the organization. This is for implementing ISO 14000. So far, we discussed how the standard developed, how they developed this actual ISO 14000, how many inside inside the 14000 series, how many standards are there, what are the standards. So now is the topic for implementing the ISO 14000. And initial review of the organization existing environmental program is needed. This review includes the consideration of all applicable environmental regulation, existing processes, documentation, work practice, and effect of current operation. So initial review is after of environmental policy by the senior management discussed. So once it's completed, the review process, so, there are two things need to be done: a strategic implementation plan to develop the strategic implementation plan. So implementation planning is similar to project management, and the step, scope, time frame, cost, and responsibility need to be defined in order to develop and implement an EMS that meets the organization target and objective and promote continuous improvement, while the strategic plan set the framework for participation of the responsible and effective actors within the organization. So the environmental issues such as emission, impact, environment need to be identified, and from the environmental issue they identify, so which of it can interact with the environment and whether they can control or influence, which later on is used as the objective for setting the environmental objective within that organization. So objective of yes, objective of the organization need to be determined in specific targets. Yes. So the objective is an overall goal which may be as simple as meeting or exceeding regulation or reduction in energy consumption target provide quantify roughly a quantify way. So, so this objective and target is actually not set by the ISO 14000, actually set by the organization that want to implement the ISO 14000. So identifying the impact and judging their significance and setting reasonable objectives and target are some of the major environmental challenges presented by ISO 14000. So once the target objective are set, so before they can, so how to set objective? They need to know the impact to the environment. So there's a lot of impact to the, many impact to the environment. And from that set of impact, they need to know which of it that they can control and influence. And from there, they can use it as a basis to set the environmental objective for the organization. So once the objectives are set, then we can, the organization needs to implement the strategic planning. So for firm that has already have the ISO 19000 running, there will be some changes in some areas to require attention, especially for environment because 9000 is only for quality management. But it will be less. So the challenges for a firm that have ISO 90000 will be less than the challenges faced by any firm that uh, 14,000 without the ISO 9000. In 3 minutes, what is the first requirement before implementation of ISO 14000? And what's the required permission before setting up the environmental to keep the device? Finance. Okay, continue. So the first requirement for putting ISO 14000 is for the senior management to commit, ask for their commitment before the evaluation. What is the required information before setting up the environmental regulatory database? They need to identify the impact of their firm or organization to the environment. Then they can set up the objective, environmental objective for the organization. So once they successfully implement the ISO 14000, they need to maintain the EMS in the environmental legal organizations. So to maintain it, the progress needs to be continually measured and monitored, which means there will be an internal or external audit to continuous improvement. So routine management and monitoring must be undertaken of the activities which can be monitored without having the potential for a significant environment. So keys for continuous improvement is routine auditing and review, but update of an organization EMS do not replace but rather complement the issue-specific environmental audit that may be conducted externally by the regulator. So in our case, the regulator is Department of Environment, and specific for Sarawak is under jurisdiction of LRDP. And consultant or internally by environmental engineer or other qualified personnel. So issue-specific audit address regulatory compliance, site assessment, or emission. The EMS audit address effectiveness of the management system. So for this issue-specific environmental audit here is normally referred to the regulatory compliance, site assessment, or emission. Meanwhile, the EMS audit is specific for the management system. So to ensure continuing effectiveness of the EMS, periodic EMS audit needed to determine if the EMS is actually conformed to the requirement of the ISO 14001. ISO 14001 is the requirement for an EMS, which allow for an organization to create a policy that incorporate legal requirement and information on environmental impact. The program is implemented professional to the government. So to ensure continuing effectiveness of the EMS, this topic, maintaining an ISO 14000 is about, if the question asks about this, the main thing that you need to highlight is about to audit and review for the current policy or the EMS. Management needs to regularly review and evaluate information such as the result of audit, corrective action, current and proposed regulation result, updates. This review allow management to look at the system, ensure that it is and will remain suitable and effective. The management review may result in change to the policy or system of the organization to meet to meet to an organization. EMS is not a stagnant system, but must continually evolve to meet the organization ever-changing needs. What is the comparison between ISO 9000 and ISO 14000? So ISO 14000 series of standards is made up of one standard, 14001, that organization have to comply with and others to provide guidance to assist organization compliant with ISO 14001. So the most important standard under 14000 family of standard is actually EMS or ISO 14001. First one. The second one, 14004, is EMS as well, but a general guideline on principal system and supporting technique. So this ISO for the 14004 is not it's only complement the 14001. It's not a must in order to get the certification of ISO 14000. ISO 14001 outlined the basis for establishing an EMS. So this is the core section of the EMS. This is family of the 5 topics highlighted below, starting from this is EMS, the core section, generation and operation. Thank you. Organization that meet the ISO 14000 requirement can seek registration in a process similar to ISO 9000 registration. The ISO 14000 series is complementary to the ISO 9000 series, whereas the ISO 9000 series deal with quality management standard. ISO 14000 series deal with environmental management standard. So, like the ISO 9000 series, ISO 14000 is voluntary and will not replace the current legislation and other code of practice that the organization must to comply. It's like ISO 14000 is just a management. It's not the regulation. That's why it's voluntary. ISO 14000 is a package that ties the mandatory requirement into a management system which is made up of objective and target focusing on prevention and continuous improvement. So, mandatory requirement into a management system. So within this ISO 14000, which we have a set of objectives and target that is related to the environmental impact by the organization. Fundamentally, it's 14,000 has same fundamental system of ISO 9000. Some of it is documentation control management system. So all of this is very similar to ISO 9000, but there are differences between the 9000 14,000. So ISO 14,000 is clear statement about the communication, competence, and economic because we found ISO 14,000 differences. The second one is ISO 14,000 interpret the setting of objective and quantifying target. So they did before the organization know the impact and make it the objective that it can be achieved, quantifiable or measurable. There's a emergency preparedness considering the view of the parties. So, public disclosure of the organization. So this standard, both of it, the standard have been designed to be applied by any organization, any country, regardless of the organization size, process, economic situation, and regulatory time. So any organization in any country can apply ISO 2000. That's why it became the national standard. And to come up with the standard, it's not easy. So, 3 minutes. We have the part minute. Not sure. Okay. Yeah. Until 150. 5 minutes. The answer is within the books. So later you can read further. It's not what about high school, especially in horticulture. So as for 50,000 cover spec, ada then adopt as audit. This is the complement how to ISO 2000. For this topic, we will try to fetch from under system export. Environmental audits. So introduction. Environmental audit fast becoming integral component of mitigation plan. It promote compliance with regulatory private but also limit liabilities of costly that is the motivation why they do the environmental audit. So corporations have come to realize the significant benefit resulting from conducting environmental audit. So this environmental audit can be internally done or means self audit or uh, external auditor. So the benefit they get when they conduct audit is drastic reduction of fine from federal or state environmental protection agencies. So the implementation of the audit policies to participation in the flow of $20 billion through businesses that promote and reward other businesses. So even the consumer will seek out and patronize this business because of their environmental policy, especially the audit. Effective environmental auditing can lead to a higher level of overall compliance, reduce risk to human health and environment. So this is when asked, the patient asked about the impact of ISO 14000 to the environment and society. One of it, you may relate it with the audit. Auditing serves as a quality assurance check to improve the effectiveness of basic environmental management by verifying that management practices are in place functionally. The objective of so what is environmental audit? Environmental auditing is a systematic, documented, periodic, and objective review by regulated entities of facilities operation and practices related to meeting environmental requirement. Is the definition set by this book. So the audit can be designed to accomplish either of the following. So the first one is to verify the compliance with environmental requirement. This is the key point the organization. Second one is to evaluate the effectiveness of environmental management system (EMS) already in place to assess risk from regulated and unregulated. The first one is to verify the compliance. The second one is to evaluate the effectiveness of environmental management system. So again, the audit is not to replace or substitute the direct compliance activities such as installing control, monitoring compliance, reporting violation. So this audit is not a substitute for this compliance things. Environmental auditing may verify but does not include activities required by law, regulation, or permit. And again, audit does not in any way replace regulatory agency inspection. So meaning the audit, either internal or external, is done voluntary, voluntary, voluntary. So the environmental audit is done voluntarily. That's all currently discussion. So why did the institution conduct environmental audit? So why conduct audit? Actually, is pretty, um, presented, discussed. Actually, we want to avoid the costly penalties on this particular subject is the major main motivator why they conduct the audits. Environmental auditing has been developed for sound business reasons, only as a way of helping regulated entities. Managing pollution control effectively over time instead of waiting to basis. So first, why we conduct the auditing is to ensure they have the pollution control ready and to avoid uh, any cases to happen or yeah, still have class. Yeah, online. Okay, another 10 minutes. Sorry. Second, editing can result in improved uh, facility environmental performance, have application and effect solution to cover focus facility management on direct checklist, which have facilities better managed. Very long. The gist is everything can result in improved facility management performance. Uh, Third one is auditing can result in better management of environmental hazard. Since auditor frequently identify mistakes that go beyond the regulatory compliance. And like I said, one of the most compelling reasons to voluntarily conduct an environmental audit is to avoid criminal prosecution. Because the senior manager of the regulated entities are ultimately responsible for taking all necessary steps to ensure compliance with environmental requirements. So based on the cases in the US under EPA, Environmental Protection uh, Agency, agency. So this book, they said EPA has never recommended criminal prosecution of a regulated entity based on voluntary disclosure of violation discovered through audit and disclosed to the government before an investigation was underway. Meaning, once they done the auditing for their organization, they disclose the violation through that audit with the report and disclose it to the environment. So, fundamentally two types of method audits. The first one is compliance. One, yeah, already. So the compliance audit is referred to the regulatory entities. Management audit is for the ISO. An independent assessment of the current status of party compliance with applicable statutory and regulatory requirement. This approach always detail requirement and effective measurement to uncover compliance from the is most effective for governing environment that causes of non-compliant activities. The compliant audit is for the is for the issue specific. Is the correct one? It's actually for the issue specific. Under the maintaining the ISO 14000. So issue specific audit address regulatory compliance, type assessment, or emission. But for AMS audit, it is to address the effectiveness of the management system. Compliance audit is issue specific, but management audit is for the ISO. Management audit implementation of a party management compliance policy, practices and control. Such evaluation may encompass theory. So 9 item here. So for management audit, for formal compartmental command policy, decision formulation of that policy, implementation and risk assessment. It's a lot, but most of it is for the management audit, not the is really specific. So we have 6 minutes. How does ISO 14000 direct or indirectly affect society? So this question says the impact on environmental society. One of the method to one of the strategy to answer this question is very back to the environmental audit. So if you refer to specify ISO Guide 64 to this document assess the impact of to the environment. Specifically, how does ISO 14000 impact the environment? This guide I will show you. Then how does the society for the society they related to auditing? So how does the auditing influence the ISO 14000? So through the review by the audit, the objective of the audit is to confirm the compliance of the session objective on the legislation. And second one is to evaluate the effectiveness of environmental management system and already in place such this related unrelated. One you really yeah. So maybe the answer with say this might be us. I think question they ask. I will upload the slide method. Next week is next week class. It's we will discuss about function. Pollution control.
Kejap atau tidak?
We will discuss next week. We will discuss about pollution prevention concept. So, thank you. Last next week is right. Happy holiday.
Kita